74. Tennessee football 74. Pulliam, McCartney, Ward, and Smyla. Tennessee football 74. Holloway, Severs, Morgan, Carruthers. Tennessee football 74. West and Marvin, Cone and Johnson. Power football when it counted. It ended like it began. Last minute do or die. The Liberty Bowl game in Memphis. National TV. Tennessee trails Maryland 3-0 in the final minutes. Quarterback Randy Wallace is back to throw. His pass into the end zone complete to Larry Severs. Tennessee snaps victory from defeat, upsetting Maryland 7-3 and vaulting into the nation's top 20 teams again in 1974. The Liberty Bowl was the ending, and the start, UCLA at Knoxville. National TV. UCLA has overcome an early Vol lead, and the Bruins are ahead 17-10 with seconds remaining when Condredge Holloway returns to play after a first quarter injury. This is it, do or die. Holloway keeps the ball, circles right in, scores. Tennessee snaps a tie from certain defeat. Tennessee football 1974 opens with a 17-17 tie that foretells a season of last-minute big plays that seem to become commonplace every week. As the young Vol football team of 74 plays one of the country's toughest schedules, a season which saw record-breaking attendance, 2 national TV appearances, total coverage by newspapers and magazines, and one of the largest college radio and TV networks in the country. These are the highlights of Tennessee football 1974. This was the earliest opening date in Tennessee football history, as the Vols play host to UCLA, ranked in the top 10 when Tennessee played them. On the second play from scrimmage, without going into a huddle, quarterback Holloway fades and throws a long pass to Stanley Morgan, who started the season as a split end, and the speedy sophomore scores on this 74-yard play. The Vols jump off to a 7-0 lead over the Bruins. Later in the first quarter, as he scrambled on this play, Holloway is injured, a critical factor in the overall season. With Holloway out and young Pat Ryan at quarterback, the Vol defense, a big question mark before the season, came of age with 2 crucial goal line stands. Tennessee stopped UCLA on 2 series inside the 5-yard line. But the Bruins overtake the Vols anyway to lead 17-10, when in the fourth quarter, after visiting the hospital for x-rays, Holloway returns to the field. First, the senior quarterback passes to sophomore Dale Fair of Elizabethton, Tennessee, for 17 yards as the Vols begin their 80-yard do-or-die drive, which is culminated by Holloway himself on this run around and this patented dive that makes possible the 17-17 tie. But the game was costly in that Holloway sustained injuries which were to plague him throughout the season. And in fact, in the next game with Kansas, Randy Wallace, himself sidelined with a viral illness through most of fall practice and the UCLA game, got the nod to start against the Jayhawks, a team also listed in the top 10 when the Vols played them. Here, Wallace picks up 14 yards on the game's first play from scrimmage. Tennessee scored first. This run by sophomore Stanley Morgan gets the Vols close as the first quarter ends. And on the first play of the second quarter, Morgan goes over the top, and the Vols lead Kansas 7-0 at Knoxville. With Tennessee leading 10-3 in the final quarter, Kansas quarterback Scott McMichael is back to pass when defensive end Kevin Davis comes up with a key sack, and moments later, the Vols march to another score. The drive is started by this 20-yard pass from Wallace, a sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida, to junior flanker John Yarbrough. Wallace then connects on this perfectly executed delay route down the east sideline at Shields-Watkins Field to junior receiver Tim Fitzpatrick, and the Vols defeat Kansas 17-3. After a loss at Auburn, the nation's 8th-ranked team, in the first road game of the year, the Vols returned to Neyland Stadium to meet Tulsa, a team which itself, late in the season, earned a top 20 rating. The Vols started swiftly against the Hurricanes, as Stanley Morgan, now playing at tailback, takes a pitch from Holloway and carries for 11 yards. The speedy sophomore from Easley, South Carolina, sets up the first touchdown moments later on this 15-yard run, and Tennessee takes an early 7-0 lead over Tulsa. The Vols extend their lead in the second quarter when Ricky Townsend kicks a 36-yard field goal to make the score 10-0. Tulsa comes back to tie the game 10-10 when late in the game, the Vols, faced with 4th and 1, call on Neil Clabo to punt. The Knoxville senior, who finished second in the nation in punting for the season, hits it perfectly. The Tulsa safety man lets the punt drop, and it rolls dead at the Hurricane 2-yard line. The Vols use their timeouts wisely. The defense holds, and Tulsa is forced to punt from the end zone with less than a minute left in the game. As the Tulsa line holds the punt rush, the Vols build a winning wall for safety man Stanley Morgan, who returns the punt 48 yards for the game-winning touchdown. It's 17-10. Do or die, the name of the season, and Tennessee was 2-1-1 as it went to Baton Rouge to play the LSU Tigers. Tennessee fumbled the opening kickoff to the Tigers, so the Vol defense was put to the test early. But the defense held, here on a vital 4th down play at the Vol 14. Condredge Holloway's second quarter pass to Tim Fitzpatrick to the LSU 20 sets up a 32-yard field goal by Townsend, which gives the Vols a 3-0 lead. After LSU takes a 7-3 advantage, Tennessee bounces back into the lead with a 33-yard touchdown pass from Holloway to Larry Severs, who is now a starter at split end. The touchdown gives the Vols a 10-7 halftime lead, but LSU is tough at homecoming at Tiger Stadium, and LSU comes from behind to defeat Tennessee 20-10. And it was back to Knoxville to meet undefeated Alabama, ranked in the nation's top 3 teams all season long. The Tennessee defense proved itself again early, this time putting the stop on Calvin Culliver's 4th down touchdown try. The Vols hold for 4 downs inside the 5, but in the second period, Alabama scores to take a 7-0 lead. 1 minute later, Morgan breaks free, pops loose from tackles, and runs 64 yards to give the Vols a touchdown. By now, Morgan has established himself as one of the SEC's top running backs. A penalty prevents Tennessee from trying for the extra point, and it's 7-6 Alabama at halftime. In the second half, Alabama explodes for a 28-6 win, and the Vols stand at the crossroads, finishing the rugged first 6 games 2-3-1. It was a time for testing, as the Vols played host to rugged Clemson the next week. Despite this early Vol touchdown on a pass from Holloway to Morgan, it isn't until the final seconds of the game that the Vols turned it around to begin the second season of 1974. The score is tied 7-7 when the Vols sophomore tailback Mike Gales breaks free and races 35 yards to score. Gales, a Cincinnati sophomore, played a key role in the Vols' second season surge, and this makes the score 13-7. Clemson comes back to grab a 21-13 advantage when once again the do-or-die Vols pull a fourth quarter miracle. First, it's Stanley Morgan, who grew up near Clemson, South Carolina, who takes this pitch out and races 33 yards to pull the Vols to a 21-19 deficit. Quarterback Holloway continues the tradition of big two-point conversions with this sweep of right in. The final lunge pulls the Vols into a 21-21 tie. But Clemson bounces back again and leads 28-21 when the Vols begin an 80-yard 16-play march, capped by this 8-yard sweep of the end by Morgan. Now the score is 28-27 Clemson. The decision is made. Go for the win with seconds left. And here's the play for the two-point conversion that really started the Vols' second season of 1974. Holloway starts to the right. He's hemmed in. He scrambles. He struggles. And finally throws it high into the end zone, where clutch catcher Larry Severs leaps and grabs the game-winning two-pointer. Tennessee beats Clemson 29-28. And an open date gives the Vols a chance to heal. Then it's Memphis State. The tone of the game is set on the first play as Vol linebacker Andy Spiva makes this stunning tackle on the Tiger runner. Sophomore Mike Gales gets the Vols rolling against Memphis State, enjoying the Tigers' finest season in years, before a capacity crowd in Knoxville, with this catch and 20-yard run to the State 32. Moments later, tailback Morgan vaults into the end zone to build the Vols' lead to 10-0 over Memphis State. In the second quarter, Holloway sets a new Tennessee record for career total offense with this 9-yard dash as the Vols continue to look sharp against the Tigers. With 45 seconds left in the first half, Holloway connects with flanker John Yarbrough, a junior from Salisbury, North Carolina, for a 14-yard scoring pass. The Vols have a 16-0 halftime lead. Following a Stanley Morgan touchdown, the Vol defense comes up with another big play. This time it's freshman linebacker Greg Jones from Bristol, who intercepts a State pass and returns it 26 yards to set up the Vols' final touchdown as Tennessee rolls to a 34-6 victory over Memphis State. And then the sun and shadows of Shields-Watkins Field are exchanged for the rain-swept Memphis Memorial Stadium for the SEC battle with Ole Miss. And the Vols turn back a determined Ole Miss opening drive at their own 2-yard line. The Vol offense takes over as Holloway scrambles to ignite a scoring drive with this pass to tight end Tommy West, who evades a defender and carries to the Ole Miss 47. And then it's tailback Stanley Morgan, this time getting a key block at the corner, who rambles down the sideline for 38 yards and the Vols' first touchdown of the day. Leading 7-3 in the third quarter, the Vols get a timely interception from senior linebacker Hank Walter, who runs the ball deep into Ole Miss territory. Fumbles, but sophomore Mike Mock recovers for Tennessee. Moments later, Mike Gales powers across for the touchdown, and Tennessee leads 13-3 to the delight of fans and teammates alike. The Vols march 80 yards in this well-executed drive, which is culminated by Holloway's 6-yard run for a touchdown, as the Vols build their advantage over the Rebels. Tennessee gets its final score on this 52-yard pass from Holloway to Severs, now established as one of the premier receivers in the country. Tennessee wins 29-17 over Ole Miss. Next comes Kentucky. Both teams are keyed up, knowing that the winner of this game in Knoxville will get a bid to the Liberty Bowl. In the first quarter, Holloway passes complete to John Yarbrough to set up a Ricky Townsend field goal. Tennessee uses an unbalanced line and cockeyed eye backfield, dubbed the Liberty formation, to overpower the Wildcats, who had decisively won over Vanderbilt and Florida the previous 2 weekends. Watch the blocking power develop as the Vols open an 80-yard drive. Stanley Morgan caps the second period drive with this touchdown from the 2-yard line, and the Vols lead Kentucky 10-0. Tennessee is ready on offense and defense in a typical Tennessee-Kentucky game. Here, junior Ronnie McCartney pounds quarterback Mike Vanuzzi to the ground with a vicious pass rush. Vanuzzi leaves the game. With a 13-0 lead in the third quarter, fullback Paul Carruthers, senior from Lafayette, Georgia, whose crunching blocks have been the key to many runs by Gales and Morgan, breaks free himself on a 25-yard run. Carruthers' run sets up this 5-yard touchdown effort moments later by Stanley Morgan, and Tennessee goes on to a decisive 24-7 win over the Wildcats. Immediately after the game, UT President Dr. Ed Bowling accepts the Liberty Bowl bid to meet Maryland in Memphis. Of course, there was a key stop before the bowl game in Nashville, as Vanderbilt, headed for its first bowl game in 20 years, held high hopes for its first win over Tennessee in 10 years. Tennessee opened like lightning on this rainy day in Nashville. Early in the first quarter, with this pass from Holloway to tight end Tommy West, a pass and run that nets 81 yards to the Vandy 2-yard line, where the junior from Gainesville, Georgia, is pushed out of bounds. On the next play, Stanley Morgan dives into the end zone, and Tennessee leads Vanderbilt 7-0 in the opening minutes. Big plays are the order of the day, and on its next possession, the Vols move again. This time, a 39-yard run by Mike Gales around right end puts the ball on the Vanderbilt 1-yard line. Then Gales dives into the end zone for the second touchdown, and after a faulty snap takes away the extra point, Tennessee leads Vanderbilt 13-0. The Commodores battle back, and apparently Vanderbilt has its first win in a decade over the Vols, 21-13 with less than a minute left. Then the Vandy punter bobbles the snap on a 4th down punt, and Tennessee has a chance from the Vanderbilt 11-yard line. With no timeouts left and seconds ticking away, the character of the team comes through. Here is Morgan behind a wave of blocking with a crucial 9-yard run to the Vanderbilt 1. Vandy digs in, yet despite the determined Commodore defense, the Vols swing Morgan free to the right, and the sophomore barely edges into the end zone for a touchdown that makes it 21-19 Vanderbilt. Another 2-point conversion is a necessity, and Tennessee comes up with the play as Holloway connects with leaping Larry Sievers to pull off an unbelievable comeback against Vanderbilt. It's 21-21, a tie. On to the Liberty Bowl, where the Vols are underdogs to powerful Maryland, known for its explosive offense. By now, Tennessee's defense has made great strides, and it caps its season's performance with plays like this. Ronnie McCartney comes from the backside to stop the Terps' Carter on the first play from scrimmage. Later in the same period, McCartney and senior Robert Pulliam and others drop quarterback Avellini for a 2-yard loss. The game settles into a defensive struggle. In the fourth quarter, Mike Gales sweeps the end for a 17-yard gain, but the Vols can't keep the drive alive. Maryland is protecting a 3-0 lead late in the game, and they need only 1 yard for an important first down and possession. But Carter is slowed by Kevin Davis and stopped by John Murdock and Mike Mock for no gain. It's 4th down, so Maryland drops back to punt. But the snap to punter Wagenheim is too high, and the Vols have new life. Do or die. Sophomore Randy Wallace is in at quarterback, and he throws this perfect strike to wide receiver Larry Sievers in the end zone. Tennessee caps its second season of 1974 with a courageous 7-3 Liberty Bowl win over Maryland. The victory gives Tennessee a record of 7-3-2 and a place once more this year in the nation's top 20 teams. The season ends on a high note, and the players, coaches, and fans look forward now to the rugged 1975 Tennessee football schedule.